All right, everybody, we are back. It is video number 2. Still December 19th, 2018. Now it is 10:56 p.m. And let's get on to with some of these weather updates. And we're going to be talking about some specific areas. One being Florida, that is expecting some severe weather in the coming days. In fact, in the next 24 hours. And then a huge saturation of basically every eastern state that we have, including the possibility of a little bit of a pull around of snow with this system. Another system coming in after that has the potential to be a pretty big winter storm, and they're already calling for the possibility of Winter Storm Ebony. That is Eboni. This version that they are using of this name is Egyptian, so if you want to look up the name meaning for that, go right ahead. All I was able to find is some hardened black wood that it is based off of. So you guys can let me know what you find out there. But anyway, with that said, let's take a look at what we're expecting here. We're going to run through this chart first, and then I'm going to explain why we are seeing what we're seeing. Once again, we are set here at the 19th, which is today. This is current right now. You could see some of the moisture building up in the Gulf. This is going to explode, and it's going to be aided by this system moving down from Canada and partially from the Pacific Ocean, and then this low pressure up by Canada. They're all going to play a factor. So as I move into the 20th, which is tomorrow, now this first frame right here is the beginning of the 20th, so each frame is 6 hours. So we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4 begins the 21st. So this is the beginning of the 21st, which is the day after tomorrow. But first, let's look at what's going to happen in between there. So this is the first part of the day for tomorrow. So early morning, midnight till 6 a.m., Florida's going to start seeing rain over the upper area. The peninsula might get some severe weather along with Mississippi and Alabama. And then you're starting to see a little bit more of that severe storm situation stuff going on. And it's going to move right over the middle of Florida. And that, again, is due to our El Nino situation, which is causing things like this. This is our jet stream right now, guys. And the reason that the El Nino has such an effect on this is because of how low the dip is. This dip usually comes to about here when we're dealing with this part of the season, but because of the El Nino and this weird pressure we have out by Alaska, the jet stream is wrapping over top of it and then retrying to connect or retrying to form itself and correct itself over the U.S. But what it's doing is it's coming down real low and it's bringing the weather that we're expecting in the Ohio River Valley, and it's shifting it to more of the east part of the U.S., putting Florida once again in that target range for tornado activity and more severe weather. So I just wanted to show you right here, this is how low our jet stream is dipping at the moment. We're going to get to the snow cover for Christmas in a moment, but really quick, here is our typical El Nino setup. This is what we usually deal with an El Nino. It's warmer weather moving over Alaska and then down into the U.S., kind of like a straight line. It dips a little bit south. This low pressure system here, though, is way up north. This thing is sitting here. So what this El Nino is doing is it's wrapping around that low pressure, coming up extra high, and then to correct itself, it's coming down very low. So it's a dramatic change. This low pressure is affecting what we normally call our El Nino, and that's dipping down the jet stream a lot farther than it's supposed to. And then we always talk about the west to east trade winds that come across constantly. And then we have an upflow that comes up from the Gulf constantly. And when all these meet together, that is why we are seeing the uptick in tornadoes in Florida. So picture this. Picture a force coming down deep enough to reach the Gulf, the end of it coming up towards Florida, a west to east shear wind also hitting that, mixing with that air, and then a deep jet stream along with the polar jet stream that is coming across the top of Canada, and that is just whipping these winds around, and that's causing the expected tornado season that is in the Ohio River Valley to be shifted to the east. So just in a nutshell there, that is the explanation of an El Nino and why we are seeing those deep dips. Now, on to tropical tidbits. Let's move on with this forecast. Now, as we move in later to the 20th, You could see some of that severe weather starting to hit the central parts of Florida north of Lake Okeechobee. And now this severe part is going to be over the panhandle of Florida, moving its way closer into the Georgia area. And then we move in another 6 hours, and this is where we really need to start paying attention to areas of Florida with the tornado. When you get these long, thin strips going through Florida, that is where you want to look for tornadoes, because those storm cells are very compact, they're very serious, and they are the exact same traits we look for in this area when we are looking for tornado formation. Now, much more detailed Doppler radar visuals give us an idea of where these tornadoes will actually be, even though they are not even in existence yet. This type of weather pattern shows that we could expect them. So the low pressure at this point is centralized over Georgia. And as we move forward, you could see how the low pressure stays still, but it's pulling that extreme weather up the East Coast and then finally up into New York, where you start seeing our pinks and our blues. That's the cold air mixing with this. Again, this system is not expected to bring a lot of snow to our area, but it's going to saturate us like crazy over the next couple days. Going into Saturday, going into Sunday is when it's finally going to piece off into the Atlantic Ocean, possibly rolling down some snow into the upper areas of New York, and a little bit of a possibility in West Virginia and Southwest PA. Not too sure about that yet. But what I also want to show you is what is to come after that, and that is not just me talking about it, but the weather channels, the mainstream media channels talking about this as well. There is a situation developing that involves the El Nino we just talked about, and that is going to be this. There's a system that is moving in from the west, and you can see right here it begins to really show its face around December 24th, right after Christmas. So we're getting this big, wet event that's coming before Christmas that may affect our traveling. We talked about this last week. Seems to still be the situation we're going to deal with, as you can see right here. The 21st into the 22nd is going to be a mess for the Northeast and for the East itself. Those are big travel days, but again, not a lot of snow. What's going to happen after that, once again, is what we need to really start focusing on. And you can see the high pressure here already moving itself down through the Utah areas into the Rockies. And then this is what's going to happen, guys, if it stays true. We're going to move forward into 25th. This is Christmas Day. Snow in the Rockies, snow along the northern areas, North Dakota, possibly South Dakota, moving into Missouri, and then over the Great Lakes, we could see some lake effect snow. But then as these storms merge together, check this out. This is exactly what Diego and Carter looked like before they were named winter storms. Now you could see the green. This is rain. You could see the severe patch of weather right here, right at the central low pressure. We have 997 millibars, which is fairly low for a low pressure system. So it is packing a punch. But all these dark blues behind it, that is definitely traits for a winter storm and a named winter storm, which is why I titled this storm Winter Storm Ibani. So as we move forward, you can see as it's moving up towards the Great Lakes, that's not a good sign because that is where the jet stream is going to be. You can see getting darker and darker. These blues, this could be talking close to a foot of snow just based on the colors alone. And we do have time before this happens, so there is time for change. But the fact that it's moving down into the Rockies and then shooting up to the Great Lakes shows that it's a fast-moving storm. And once it mixes with the Gulf moisture, guys, that is going to fuel this. And once it hits the cold temperatures over the Great Lakes, that's when winter storms become serious. And we could be dealing with this in the Northeast. It does show by the 28th, we do have rain and a pink snow rain mix just above the U.S. states. If this thing drops any lower, which it can, each day, a couple hours could make a big change. This low pressure, if this thing drops even a few hundred miles, we're talking snow all over the Northeast. So we're talking about two major moisture systems coming in the next 2.5 weeks, one being in the very near future with some severe weather along the coast we just spoke about. The second of which could be our next major winter storm Ibani. Sorry, I keep wanting to say Ebola because of what's going on in the news. Sorry about that. But this is certainly something we want to keep an eye on for the few days after Christmas, which again is another pretty heavy travel day. A lot of people go home around that time, so it's just a very that time of year where people are just traveling. They're moving around a lot. They're visiting family. They're out. They're taking vacations, what have you. But regardless, there's a lot of moisture. Already saturated states getting more and more moisture. And a big issue with this is the river gauges, guys. We talked about this a few days ago. I don't have that chart pulled up, but the river gauges are getting higher and higher and higher. And then when the temperatures drop, we have to deal with a snow melt and water runs downhill. So a lot of these streams and rivers and creeks during that snow melt, they're beginning to fill up higher and higher. They're causing flooding, some in moderate flooding, some now in major flooding, especially in these areas here that have been getting hit very hard, the southeast states. But again, main focus of this video, the possibility of winter storm, Ibani. Any day or each day, we're going to watch this and see if this low pressure drops. The more this low pressure drops, the higher potential for snow in the upper east, which we don't want. Let's keep this snow along the border and keep the named snowstorms at bay if we can. But all I keep seeing are these big low pressure systems flying in through the west because of that stationary pressure system we have by Alaska that's forcing the jet stream to change its course and in turn affect the U.S. weather. So sorry I jumped around a bit there, a little bit winded video here, but definitely worth the warning to get out there. And then you want to go into January, we could be dealing with the same situation. So again, just a repeat after repeat of the same situations going on. We've been getting lucky lately, guys. A lot of these systems have been rain, but the next couple may not be. So we need to keep an eye on that. Here's our chart over the next 5 days. You can see some of these areas completely drenched. You match up these colors. We're talking between 5 and 7 inches of rain here, and this is that extreme system that is about to cross over Florida. That is why I talked about the tornadoes. We had a touchdown tornado that caused damage in Seattle, Washington. Just bipolar weather. Hashtag get that one going, guys, because I'm telling you, that thing's going to blow up. You could see here off the coast of the Carolinas up into Virginia, we could be seeing some very, very heavy downpours. And then as you move up into the northeast, it gets a little more of those purples and blues. Less than an inch of rain. That could be due to the colder weather and snow, but this is your 4-day forecast over the next couple days to take a look at. As of right now, we do have flash flood warnings all over the Northeast, all over this part of Florida. Like I said, that strip of severe weather is going to come through. That is why those warnings are there. Gale force winds on the coast, gale force winds on the west coast. And then down in Texas, I thought I remembered what this meant. Red flag warning. Those are wind warnings there. And then when you match up the gray colors, we deal with small craft warnings. So there are wind warnings also in Louisiana as we speak. So, all right, let me just make sure that's right. Actually, that could be dense fog related to that weather pattern with gale force down in the Gulf as well. So lots going on, guys, basically. So you can see here's the chart that's going to take us through December 2nd. You can see all the moisture moving up, and then that last frame there showing the purples and blues, possible snow. So we're not out of the woods yet as far as this first round of precipitation. The south is out of the woods as far as snow for this one, but saturation is an issue there as they are completely saturated because of the storms we've been having over the last couple days. And let's see, we already showed the cloud movement. We showed the dip in the jet stream, extreme dip in the jet stream. When you see the jet stream get into the Gulf, guys, you know that that is not common at all. Now, as far as the White Christmas, this is the current snowfall right now as we speak. You could see here that is that system of snow that we're talking about that will eventually become the possibility of Winter Storm Ibani. We do still have snow on the ground in New York and New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine. We have some pretty heavy snow actually up in that area. That was snow due to a separate system that has not left yet because it is very cold. And then this is what we have to expect up through December 24th. So there are spotty areas in New York that could see a white Christmas. And again, just these systems coming from the west. So with that said, guys, that's what I got for you as of right now. Again, this is our second video for today. We need to keep an eye out for this winter storm, as it could be a travel mess for some, and for others it could be just another storm that we're just going to have to deal with. And just to end this up, here we go. Rare December tornado rips homes in Seattle area, Washington. Article after article after article about this. You can see the damage here. So maybe I'll make a separate video on that as well. There is a lot of info out there already about this, especially for the people that live in Seattle. So we'll see what we do with that. But again, guys, thank you for your attention. I appreciate all the views, all the comments, all the kind words. And we will talk to you guys very soon. Glad we got out here to get 2 videos out to you. And if we can get a third, we will. All right, guys, talk to you soon. Have a great night. Bye-bye.